Good afternoon. Welcome to the Oil Stream. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. Tom Gazzola inside the EST Satellite Studios and Reed Bartholomew Wilkins inside the EST Global HQ as we bring you today's episode of the Oil Stream, presented as always by Boston Pizza. And as we get set to for the Oilers and the New Jersey Devils, of course, text us 780-218-9999 and get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're joining us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Apple Music, and of course, EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. We appreciate you and get those questions, comments, and concerns in. The Oilers, big win yesterday in Calgary, 4-2. They get another big test tonight in the New Jersey Devils, and we have a McDavid update. We'll get you updated on the lineup as well. Lots to get to, Riedrich. How are you? I haven't seen you since, Friday?
Yeah, it feels like a long time to not be in your presence, Tom. I'm doing well. How are you? How was your UFC experience? Did you not? Were you ringside? Where were you?
I did not go to UFC. Tony Gazzola went to UFC.
Tony Gazzola, right. Sorry.
And by all accounts, Tony loved it. Tony really enjoyed the experience and was thankful he was able to cover UFC. Great event. That arena has been super busy, obviously, for the last few months, and that's a good thing. And people turned out pretty good. They said it was the highest grossing UFC fight night, which is, I don't know, like, what would you call it? Like a house card, like in WWE terms. And they said it was the best UFC fight night that they've had. So money-wise, that's a good thing. Yeah.
That's good. And you were not thrown out of your seat, even though it was for Tony Gazzola.
That is correct. Tony allowed me to sit there. Not a lot of local media. It was Tony Gazzola and Rob Tychkowski, and that was it, really.
Wow. Surprising.
Yeah, and then a few of the regulars on the UFC circuit. I didn't really know who they were, but they were very good. I'll tell you this, Reed. The fighters, listening to them talk, and then talking to them a tiny bit, they are a breath of fresh air to listen to. And their interactions with the media, man, like some of the questions, it wasn't combative. There was nobody going at each other or anything like that, but they were just very elaborate with their responses. I know they're selling themselves. They need their next contracts, and they want to fight more, and they want to make big bucks in the UFC as they're climbing the ladder. But they're excellent, better than football players to talk to and interview. That's how good they were.
Well, that's good to hear, and I wonder too if that's sort of the culture, the expectations that UFC has created. That the expectation is, look, if you're talking to someone, sell yourself and sell the sport, but you got to have a certain amount of professionalism, and it is an individual sport too, right? So nobody's going to talk about you. The person you're fighting probably isn't going to pump you up. So So you got to make sure you pump yourself up. But that's good. That's good to hear that was sort of the standard for them. And this is like, I'm not huge into the MMA and the UFC. I have a general understanding how it works. So there were no championships on the line.
Yeah.
But these could be people who are trying to. But there's still a lot of excellent fighters who are trying to get to the championship shot.
Yeah, like I think Moreno and Namajunas were former champions, and they were looking to climb the ladder and get into contender status, that type of thing. And then that Aaron Blanchfield, I think, was the third ranked. Namajunas was fifth. And then after that win, she, is elevating herself into the main contender status. And then the undercard fighters were looking for their next contracts, basically. So, but still, like, it was great spectacle. I enjoyed it. Different crowd, certainly, but overall, really liked it. Cold as ice in there because the Oilers take on the New Jersey Devils today, and then they get the Vegas Golden Knights on Wednesday, and we're going to talk all about it. But we should start too with that win last night, Reed. I know there were people very content with the Oilers' performance overall. Another hot start, 20 seconds this time it took the Oilers, and that top line of Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson to click again. They get that 2-0 lead. Calgary claws its way back into the game, and then Edmonton gets a power play marker off a rush, not a setup, and manages to close out. What did you think of the game last night, Riedrich?
Well, I thought the Oilers dominated the first 15 minutes, and you said it, and I think that was one of the most apparent things from that game is they just came out and really asserted themselves and got the 2 goals, and maybe could have even been up 3 or 4 if they'd finished a couple more chances or if Vladar hadn't made a couple of good saves. Clearly, Draisaitl takes the initiative again. 6 points in 2 games without McDavid. You can't argue with what he's doing. And then the Jeff Skinner goal. I mean, that's just you do the work to get in there, but then you got to have the skill to finish it. And that is just that's a very unique and I would say even elite play to reach around and tuck that in. I mean, I think that even some of the Oilers' higher end guys like McDavid or Draisaitl might have trouble scoring that type of a goal because McDavid would probably be going so fast he might already have put himself too far behind the net to tap it in like that. Right. So that was a great goal. Calgary certainly responded. I thought the last 45 minutes they had more of the initiative. I don't know if it was grossly in favor of them, but I think it was in favor of them if you look at the shots and some of the chances. But Skinner made the saves that he needed to make. Look at Blake Coleman alone, had 3 grade A looks in the second period, and Skinner turned those away. I think the 2 shots he got beaten on. I guess on the second one you could say, well, he needs to find it, but it's also in right off the post. So I thought that was a good performance for him. I think the whole team bounced back from the debacle in Columbus by how they played in Nashville, but then Skinner needed to do that. Yep. And he was very good last night. And then despite all the poor play by the special teams this season, they won the game in the third period. They got a power play goal, and I think full credit to Ekholm for that play he made in the neutral zone. He won't get an assist on the play, but it goes out, and I was thinking, okay, what is he going to do? Is he going to just skate all the way back to his own blue line and give everybody time? And then there was even a split second I thought, well, will he just dump it in and let everybody tag up on the offside just so the puck's not in a potentially more dangerous place? And then he gets it along the boards and just that little pass to Draisaitl along the wall. And then as a result of him going towards the boards, the Calgary defenders were drawn a little bit out of position, and that eventually opened it up for Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. So I thought that was an excellent play by Ekholm. And then they killed off the Calgary penalty that they got after that. And I'm actually going to say this, Tom. I know the stat because Calgary was 1 for 2, right? So again, the Oilers penalty kill creeps closer to 50% for the season.
So bad.
But I actually thought the penalty kill was good last night. Really, Calgary didn't get a chance on the situation they had when it was 3-2. And I thought the goal that went in, I thought Edmonton killed that off very well. Calgary wasn't set up, didn't have a chance, and then they get that set up late, and it's deflected in by Mantha, which probably was a high stick, but I'm guessing the evidence wasn't conclusive for the officials to overturn it on video review. So I'm as people know and who listen in the afternoon as well, I'm still pretty calm about the power play. I do think it'll pick up and have a burst, and I'm actually starting to think maybe the PK is coming along a little bit, because the goals now they're giving up, and I hope this continues, but they're not getting sliced apart.
Right.
The Nashville goal. Okay, yes, you can criticize Kulak, but a lot of times that flip gets out of the zone, And then even last night, it wasn't like Calgary was buzzing with 5 or 6 chances and Edmonton couldn't clear the puck. So I know that's only 2 games, but I'm a little optimistic. Maybe the PK is starting to move in the right direction as well.
Ultimately, it's a win. I hope you're right in terms of the Oilers and their special teams, because riding into tonight, Riedrich, their special teams, not good, or no bueno, as we like to say on the post-game show. The power play has vaulted itself into 25th going into action tonight in the National Hockey League at 5 for 33. That's 15.2%. And the PK did drop last night. It was at 62.5% going into the game, sitting 32nd. It has fallen to 61.8%, which is dead last.
I thought it was still below 60, to be honest with you. But
It feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels that way. So, it's a work in progress, if you will. But the power play, I don't know. Like they've scored what do they have? 5 power play goals now. Yeah, 5 for 33. I could think of 2 of them, last night included, that came off the rush. And there was one earlier in the year where it was a give and go. I think McDavid and Draisaitl, and they scored. I think it was McDavid that finished it. So it's not like they're scoring that much off setups. I thought they would have to simplify with McDavid being out, but work in progress, I guess.
Well, I really noticed the absence of McDavid on the power play
because
he's so good at retrieving loose pucks, and then he just kind of skates wherever he wants, and he's so difficult to check, and he can just take the puck to the part of the ice that he wants it to be in, as opposed to trying to make 2 or 3 passes to get it there. I do get what you're saying. They haven't been able to score either off a setup, and I guess when I think of a setup, I think of a Bouchard shot from the line or the one-timer to Draisaitl. I said the first couple weeks of the season, but Bouchard didn't take a slap shot, 5-on-5 or even strength. The only slap shot he took, I think, on the homestand was I think it was the goal that got disallowed when Hyman clipped the front of the crease. So I would still like to see Bouch fire away a little more. I know their teams are trying to block that shot, but I think if he fires it and it hits something, then it has to go somewhere where everybody has to find it, and the Oilers are likely to get there first, and they talk all the time about playing road hockey. So I would like to see Bouch shoot more. I do think the one-timer to Draisaitl is going to be available at times, and they'll find him to score. But then off of that, Tom, they haven't had, that I can think of, a lot of goal mouth scrambles on the power play.
No.
And that's a little weird because that's where a lot of the Hyman goals come from, or Leon swoops in late with the burger flipper and finds a loose puck and puts one in, or even Nuge or McDavid might get a rebound that way. How many goals did Hyman score last year just by making himself his legs an extension of the goalpost?
Right.
He
just stands there, and tips it in.
And that's I guess a little odd to me that's not there. Is that they're not, certainly they can move the puck around. And I've said this on my show as well, that I don't generally criticize this power play for overpassing because they can see lanes and opportunities that most players can't see. And sometimes even those of us watching on TV or in the rink can't see. So I don't get as upset about that, though I understand why some fans do. I do want Bouch to shoot a little more, but that's the one thing I'm a little miffed about is where's that puck just getting into the net, into the goalie's feet, into the blue paint, and letting Hyman do what he's doing best. So I think my question to people would be, Hyman only has a couple of goals, both basically on breakaways, kind of a mini breakaway last night. I don't even know. I can't even think. I know Hyman's had some good scoring chances when he wasn't scoring. I can't remember how many were on the power play, maybe one. So how come he's not getting opportunities on the power play? Is that a Hyman being snake bit issue, or is that they're not letting him putting the puck in an area where he can execute his strength? I would think it's more the latter. But there's got to be a shot coming from Bouchard or somewhere, or aiming for, let's face it, they aimed for Hyman's legs at times last year. It's a variation of the. I know this player is not nearly as good as Hyman, but remember Chason would just put his feet together and angle them,
and he'd
to
score.
Make his skates.
He got 21 year.
Or he would put his stick down and he would knife at the puck, but he would move his skate behind his stick. So if he missed it with his stick, it would still hit his skate. I know Hyman's a little different than that, but. Anyway, long-winded answer about the power play. I do think it's going to be okay, but I would like to see Bouchard fire away a little more and then give Hyman the chance to do his muck work and get his goals that way.
All right, I'm going to just write this down as I note it. Reed thinks power play will be okay. That's essentially what you meant, right?
Yes, I do, and I've been insistent on it. And it is up from 6% where it was a couple weeks ago.
What is it at, 7.3, I think it is, something like that. But the bottom line is they won. They get a win against their in the Battle of Alberta against their provincial rival, and they have 6 wins in their last 9 games. 6-5-1 is the Oilers' record going into action tonight against the New Jersey Devils. We'll get to some texts, 780-218-9999, and nasty chat comments as well. Liquid Beaver chimed in, says 100% Reed, not enough shots taken on the power play. I'm with Liquid Beaver on that one. And you, Riedrich, I agree with that. Too cute at times this season, certainly early on. Eden texting and says, hey, Reed and Tom, I think the shots from Bush stopped coming when Hyman got hit with a Bush bomb earlier in the season. He took one in a very delicate area,
sensitive male area. You know what? That is an interesting comment, because we do have to remember that these guys are human.
They are,
and Bouchard does not want to injure a teammate. You know,
No.
if he injured an opponent, I'm not saying he would be happy about that either, but you might live with it a little more.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a fair question. If is that in the back of Bush's mind? Okay, I want to blast it. Well, where's Zach? Where's Leon or who? Like I
Yeah.
you know, I know I want them to tip it, but I don't want to hurt the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know where it hit Hyman. That obviously wasn't pleasant. But I would worry too about a guy taking one off the hand, right? Like that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That could, because remember Nugent Hopkins, I know it wasn't on a power play, but remember Nugent Hopkins, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. Remember he got a really bad hand injury blocking a shot, I think in Florida, and he just kind of went out to the line.
Yep.
And he put his hands by his knees to sort of make himself a little bigger. And I think it was just a wrist shot. And just the way, like, didn't he miss 30 or 33 games or something? Like, he missed a ton of time.
That's right.
So, you know what? I'd never thought of that about Bush. Now, I would also say, though, that wasn't in the first game of the year. You know, that was there weren't a lot of slap shots from Bouchard even before that. But, you know, fair question. You never know what a guy is thinking. I don't think he'd ever admit that. But, yeah, the last thing you would want to do is injure your own player when you're firing away trying to score a goal. But, yeah, I would still say there's got to be, like, has Bouchard one on the power play? I feel like last year you could be,
maybe.
Yeah, I feel like last season you could guarantee he would blast one or two. Have we seen that little move where he fakes a pass to the left and then moves it back and takes a quick wrister? He was more likely to do that on a 4-on-3 than a 5-on-4, to be fair, because there's more room.
True.
But yeah, I still would like to see more slap shots from him because it's such a. I mean, think of the goal in Detroit. I guess that was a one-timer. It was more off a drop as opposed to one across the seam. But that was one Leon gets the blue line and Bush just fires into it. And Hyman and McDavid were going across the goal, across Talbot's sight in that one. But yeah, I think that's a really good question if he's worried about hitting a teammate. I never thought of that.
Valid. And I like that. Good text that came in there from Eden. It is the Oil Stream. Gazzola and Wilkins with you. The Oil Stream presented by Boston Pizza. As always, they have their $15 lunch. It's new, and it's a fast lunch that doesn't have to mean fast food. Grab lunch at Boston Pizza. They get it. Lunch breaks are short. That's why their new lunch menu delivers within 20 minutes, or your next lunch is on them. If you want, you can build a lunch combo for $15 that suits your taste. And the menu is crafted to satisfy your midday cravings with a variety of options, whether you prefer a quick bite or have time for a leisurely lunch. Check them out. Boston Pizza, proud partner of the Oil Stream. All right, keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Maybe you're enjoying a BP's $15 lunch and are listening to us on iHeart, TuneIn, Apple Music, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, or you're watching on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe as we get you set for tonight's action, Oilers and New Jersey. Let's get to this. This is a big thing. Reed was down at the rink this morning. It was an optional skate, only a handful of guys, one of them being Connor McDavid. And I took video of him doing a drill, and he looked pretty good on his feet. His edges looked good, didn't seem to be favoring his ankle. And then we spoke to him after he finished up his skate, and we said, I know the question was, how's it feeling? He's like, oh, it's good. It's healing. Working with the medical team, obviously. And he's like, ultimately, it's my body. I'll decide and do it in conjunction with the medical team when I'm good to go. But he wouldn't rule out this weekend against Vancouver, which I thought was interesting. I know they play coy with that sometimes, but Reed, a very good sign. I reported on Thursday that he was on the ice. He has since been skating a little bit more, obviously. What do you make of McDavid and his recovery thus far and the news that we got from him today?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, further confirmation that it's not a very serious injury. I think we sort of got an inkling of that the night it happened, and then the Oilers announced 2 to 3 weeks, so that was a good sign. You reported that he was skating, probably, like that was probably go out and twirl around in a tracksuit type of thing, but just see how it feels. And then that he actually took an optional skate, because sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, I'm just trying to remember over the years, but sometimes when a player is coming back or close to coming back, he even will skate by himself before his teammates, even on an optional day, right? If the optional is at 10:30, he'll go out at 9:45 and be done by the time his teammates get on the ice. So I think that's really good news. McDavid skated today. I would still doubt he plays against Vegas on Wednesday, but I think you're right. It raises the possibility of a return in Vancouver on Saturday, because then there's a couple days off Thursday and Friday, or is it more comfortable for him to come back for a home game such as the Islanders or Nashville next Tuesday and Thursday? Just looking at the schedule, probably means, if he's feeling this good already, probably means for sure he plays in Toronto on a Saturday night on the 16th, which will be fun. I know, Jay was speculating that would be the game he came back for, but now it's looking as if he's back before that. So it's a good sign. 2-0 without him is obviously great. Draisaitl's assertive play without McDavid is great, but we know Leon can do that even when McDavid's in the lineup. But yeah, long term, you don't want to be without him for too long. And I think of the 3 games, I guess technically he missed the entire Columbus game, but the team was just so bad that night. Yeah. But of the 2 games he's missed so far, I would say his absence maybe is going to be most noticed tonight because of how New Jersey can skate. And who's going to push the pace for Edmonton, and then who's going to help. McDavid's speed helps defensively as well, because he can get to the right place and win the puck battles as well. No, but that's a very good sign that he's already taking an optional skate just a week after getting injured. Did he do everything? Did he participate in everything like that? It looked normal.
It looked normal. The video I took is a small sample of, I think they were out there for about a half an hour, if I were to guesstimate the approximate time. And listen, you've seen those morning skates, Reed. They're not doing systems work. Right. It's just a lot of flow. Maybe you get some one-on-ones and stuff like that, but it's mostly to get your goalie warmed up. And Calvin Pickard was the only goalie on the ice. I think it's Pickard's net tonight. He was 2-0 against the Devils last season, and essentially it's just to go out there and get the feeling and shake off any cobwebs or anything like that. And usually it's the scratches or guys that want to maybe get a little feel and taste of the ice that go out there. So it was noteworthy that he was out there, took the full skate, and then spoke to us after, which I think all signs are pointing towards him coming back sooner, less than the 2 weeks even. I know they said 2 to 3, so that's a good thing. And you're right. That as soon as I saw Toronto on the calendar, I'm like, well, he'll be playing in that game on the 16th for sure, and it could be even sooner. But I know that it was brought up, the Vegas game, and I think he didn't want to say much, but I didn't get the inkling that he was going to be ready to go for that one. I think Knobloch said tonight for sure, no, obviously, and then even Knobloch was kind of wishy-washy on Vegas in his reaction to speculating on Wednesday. So a good sign, and the team 2-0 without him. We'll count him playing in that Columbus game, even though he was hurt on his first shift. But the Oilers looking to continue life without McDavid temporarily on a positive note against a pretty quick New Jersey Devils team. Before we deep dive on the Devils and the Oilers tonight, one last thing I want to ask you about Edmonton thus far, especially without McDavid. What have you made of Henrique, Brown, and Janmark?
Oh, that's a good question. That's actually not who I thought you were going to ask me about.
Oh, did you think I was going to ask about that one player who played for the Golden Bears, not named Derek Ryan?
I believe his name is Noah Philp.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I believe he got a point in Nashville.
He did now.
By the way, his face-offs were not good last. It's funny. He had wasn't he 12 out of 16 or something in Nashville?
I think he was 10 for 14.
He was very
71%. Yeah,
last night wasn't good, 1 for 9. But
the Oilers lost the face-off battle as a whole as well, Philp being part of that. He did not take the morning skate, Reed. That would indicate he's still playing tonight.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. It's okay. First of all, I think that line, Henrique, Janmark, and Brown, set a really high bar in the postseason. And quite frankly, that line, both 5-on-5 and their roles as penalty killers, was a big reason they beat Dallas. And I think was also instrumental in forcing Game 7 against Florida as well. So I think the bar for that line was quite high. Let's face it, Tom. Is that the best third line the Oilers have had since 2006, when they kind of just had a solid 12 solid forwards to make it to the Cup final?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. There were years that you might say they had 2 fourth lines. There might have been years you said they had 1 first line and 3 fourth lines.
08-09, Reed. 08-09, they were in 6th for a good chunk of the season.
Okay,
and I think they had 20 games to go, and they were in 6th place, and then they just fell apart. Maybe that year they had a half.
Okay, so maybe I should say in the McDavid Draisaitl era, this might be
the best one.
Best third line. I know 16, 17 at times they did. If Schlepperslev was playing well, or wherever Pouliot was in the lineup, I'm trying to remember that. I guess Gazzola was on that team too. I saw someone post in the Nasty chat last night. So, what did Janmark do to earn 15 minutes of ice time? Well, he kills penalties.
Yeah,
he's an annoyance, as we saw at the end of the game. Other teams don't like him, and he's better than the players they have on their fourth line. So he's going to play about a quarter of the game, like he did last night. Mm-hmm. I guess I was hoping for that line to have a little bit more finish. It'd be nice because what do they have now? 1 goal each, Henrique, Janmark, and Brown, I believe.
With Janmark getting his first yesterday.
I have the stats right here. I guess I could refer
how
to
about
these.
That?
Kids, always check your notes if you brought them. I was optimistic Brown could maybe even flirt with 20. We'll see. Honestly, the guy there that's maybe he started well and maybe he's been a little quieter since might be Henrique for me.
Yes.
He doesn't appear as dynamic. To me, he's always been such a thorough player. I remember even seeing when he was early in the league, and then as he developed, I just always thought if you're watching him with the Devils or the Ducks, it's just okay, this guy, he probably won't screw up, and then he might do something that hurts you. I don't know if you're asking me that because you think the line has been underwhelming or not. I think they probably have been a little bit underwhelming. I don't think it's a disaster, but then I also wonder, did we set the bar too high after last year's playoff, where they participated and in some ways initiated, a better than average burst, which helped the team go really far. And that's what you need in the playoffs. You need to already be a good team and then have some guys even elevate. But I wish that line maybe had been a little bit more dynamic and had been able to participate more so far in just, okay, line 1 forechecks, line 2 forechecks, and then line 3 keeps it going. I don't know if there's been that rolling over the lines, sustained pressure from the Oilers as much as I would thought they would be. Now, having said that, I still think it's a good line. And I still think it will be a good line. I'm Mr. Optimism about everything. I don't know.
I love it.
They got a good team. But yeah, I think that there's been maybe a little more, down to their game than I thought they would be. But let me say this: I think Connor Brown's probably had more scoring chances in the first 13 games of this year than he had in the first 40 last year. I mean, don't forget last year, it's not as if he just wasn't scoring. He wasn't even getting chances most of the time.
Right.
And he had a couple good chances last night, and he seems like he's not reluctant to shoot the puck. But I would say that line, I would like to get a little more out of them. But I'm not saying that it's been a disaster or anything like that. Just the expectations were a little higher for them.
They've been very steady, but like you said, they're not tilting the ice offensively, which they are capable of doing. Henrik being the perfect example of that. Just the one goal this year. Same with Brown. Janmark leading the charge offensively with 3 points. They're safe. And I think that's okay. That's a good starting point. But at some point, they're going to need to chip in offensively, and I'd like to see it too. And I think Henrik is the poster child for that, playing it safe when he does have that offensive ability, like you alluded to, 50-plus points last year between Edmonton and Anaheim. All right, let's get to some text, 780-218-9999, and this goes into tonight's game. Nice segue from Rob in the Grove. Says, hey, guys, watching the game last night, I thought the Oilers' breakouts from the D zone were the best so far this season. Passes were on point. I agree with Rob.
Yeah.
And especially in the first period, like their D-to-D regroups, breakouts were quick. They string together 2 or 3 nice passes, and they were up and into the flame zone. It changed a bit in the second period, Reed. In the third, they kind of clawed back a little bit. It was a good battle for the win in the third period. But yes, especially in that first period, Edmonton in its own zone seemed pretty composed. And they're going to need that tonight because this New Jersey team is young, it's speedy, and it can handle the puck with speed. It's quick. We saw this Devils team 2 seasons ago come in here, score goals 7 seconds apart to steal a 3-2 Oilers lead, turn it into a 4-3 Devils lead in a heartbeat, and ultimately take away a couple of points out of Edmonton. So I think tonight will be a true test of the Oilers' quote-unquote team speed, because we've heard it on our station, in the text line, and in the nasty chats, like, this team's old, this team's slow. And then you always hear the counter with, well, it's not burners that make up a team's speed. It's not guys who can fly down the ice like McLeod could, like Fogle could, like Holloway could. It's how they possess and move the puck that is the team speed and how it's viewed in hockey. And tonight, I think it's going to be a litmus test for the Oil and their overall speed. I don't know how you see it, but that's how I look at it tonight.
Well, good point about the passing last night. And quite frankly, especially the first 3 games of the season when they went 0-3, and sporadically since then, there have been nights where it looked like they'd never passed a hockey puck before in their life. It had never been on their stick before. It's like, oh, I guess I put it in this direction. Oh, there's a teammate. Do I give it to him? Like, there were times it looked that bad. And like, right, the high-end guys too. So yes, that's come around over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, how are you gonna counteract New Jersey's forecheck if they get the puck into the corner and have a couple guys coming fast? You got to move it quick, right? So are you going up the wall? Are you reversing it behind the net and trying to go up the other side? Do you have the middle breakout? There was a really good play. I think Leon passed to somebody. He had it behind his own net, and Calgary clogged up the wall, and he put a little quick pass in front of his own net, which I know isn't always safe, but it was open, and they broke the puck out that way. So I'm sure they're going to have some film on that and see what New Jersey likes to do and try to do it the other way. I think, and I think this player is starting to steady a little bit as well. I think this will be a good test for Emberson, because you're going to see the Devils coming in fast. He's an important player, right? I mean, if he's whoever he's going to play with, he's going to be playing with. I guess he's been with Kulak lately. By the way, Kulak was excellent last night.
Yes, he was.
I should just mention that. And it shows plus minus isn't always fair because he was -1 in that game, but he played. What did he wind up playing? He played
20 plus. Him, Darnell,
couple big
Ekholm,
hits,
and Bush were all over 20 minutes.
And it is interesting how Kulak and Nurse still wind up playing together sometimes, right? They rotate the other guys out. So, yeah, I think it'll be a good test for Emberson, probably, obviously, for Dermott if he's in again. How is he going to handle some of that New Jersey speed? But you're absolutely right, Tom, and this won't be any breaking news to our audience, but because teams talk about it all the time. I mean, I remember going back to Todd McClellan saying it, and then other coaches before him. You can play – the puck can make you – if you can move the puck, you can play fast. Yes. It's not just about skating fast. So – the Oilers are blessed to have a couple really fast skaters, one of whom's not playing tonight. But if you get back and get the puck going in the other direction, that's discouraging to a team too if they're trying to dump the puck in or start a forecheck and they're just getting there and the puck's already moving past them and they never get the chance to do anything offensively. So, yeah, I do want to see the Oilers be, calm with the puck and be able to advance it up ice. I mean, as good as Bouchard is with the puck most of the time, he's going to have to play with, what's the term Al Michaels uses on Thursday Night Football, alacrity. They're going to have to make sure they get it going. I mean, Nurse is going to have to be careful and thorough with the puck. I think Kulak's been very good in that department. Ekholm's pretty reliable. And then how do Emberson and I guess we're assuming Dermott plays again, or could Stetcher draw in?
I think at the end of the scrum, we heard from Knobloch. He said Stetcher draws in. Didn't say who he'd take out. And we'll also see Derek Ryan return to action. I'm guessing he's in for Caggiula. I think Perry didn't play a ton in the second half of that game last night, did he?
No. I'm kind of, I know I'm weaving off topic here. I'm kind of opposed to them taking Emberson out. So
take out Dermott.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I do think Emberson's an important player. I know he's still under 50 games, isn't he, in his career? Like, he's not played a lot, but considering who you traded for him and what you need on this team, he has an important role that you want him to grow into.
Correct.
And I get sometimes coaches will say, well, we want to shelter him or bring him along slowly or have him learn. I get
Which
it.
They are.
But I would be reluctant to take him out. I mean, I think maybe unfortunately for him, maybe it's not fair, but he's got to get out there and learn and see how he does in these situations and against quicker teams and then against more physical teams. I mean, I know it's not all about fighting, but this team appears to like to fight and usually win when they fight. So, I mean, even good for him that he got into a fight a couple of games ago. So that's why I would be opposed to him coming out, especially against an opponent like the Devils. Like, see how he does. Let's see how he does.
Emerson played fifth most minutes on the blue line last night. Dermott with the least amount, 12:37. Emerson, like you mentioned, just hit the 40-game mark in his NHL career last night. I would assume that it would be Travis Dermott coming out for Troy Stetcher. And then Corey Perry, just looking at last night's stats, he played just over 7 minutes. Again, didn't see a lot of him in the second half of the game. If they're going to get Derek Ryan back in there, I don't know if it's best to take out Drake Caggiula, especially if you want to match speed. I thought Caggiula I think he played just under 7 minutes as well. For when he was out there, plays quick, he's tenacious, he knows his role, doesn't really hurt you in his own zone. I think there was one shift that line got hemmed in the second period, something like that. And I was like, that was.
I think at the end of the first, they might have been out there too.
That was
Calgary
the one.
Really started pushing.
Yeah, that was the one, and maybe a sign there for the coaching staff to dial it back on the fourth line last night. But if you want to play with pace and speed and quickness, I mean, I don't know if Derek Ryan's the solution, but I don't know if you take out Drake Caggiula. How would you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I still like Perry being in there, even if he doesn't play a lot, just because
I know
if you needed to mix something up, he can play on pretty much any line, and he's still got the hands and the attitude to contribute. Caggiula gives you what he has, right? I mean, I know you can debate about the quality of the fourth line. That's fair, but these are the players that they have. I think Caggiula's pace and tenacity could help in a game like this, and I think you gotta, while he's here, and I don't think he's going to be here the rest of the year, but while Noah Philp is here, I think you got to give him a chance to take some swings as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who they would take out if they are bringing Derek Ryan back in. I realize maybe on a back-to-back, you just might want to make a change to have a fresh body coming into the lineup. That's the only extra forward they have. Right. They only have one extra forward, not two. So, I don't know. I'd still be not of the mindset necessarily to take Perry out just because he helps. He can usually, I know it was a quieter night for him, and I guess the fourth line didn't see a lot of action. Mm-hmm. So, Yeah, Gazzola skating. Philp, again, let him learn. Let him take face-offs, see how he does in that situation. So I'm not sure which guy I would take out if I have to do it. I'd probably roll with the same forwards.
Sounds like we're going to see a little tweak up front and one on the back end. We'll see come warm-up when the Oilers hit the ice at Rogers Place. 6:30 p.m. start. It is on Amazon Prime tonight. A little bit different. First time an Oilers game will be on Amazon Prime. You have to have a Prime account. I said it last night on the post-game show. Here in Canada, the NFL has been doing Prime games for a couple of years now, Thursday nights. And in Canada, we're lucky because they're broadcast on TSN, even though they're Prime in the U.S., but not the case with hockey. So you have to have Amazon Prime and a Prime account to watch tonight's action.
I'm glad you said that, Tom.
Why?
So
What?
This game
Go
is
ahead.
not on Sportsnet.
That is correct.
It's not even on Sportsnet in Canada.
No.
Interesting.
The whole Amazon Prime crew was here. Blake Bolden was part of it. Andy Petrillo was down there at the rink this morning. And was it England? No, not England. Out of Vegas. Anyway, the whole
Derek
crew.
England.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Derek England. It was oh my God, his name isn't popping up in my mind.
I can't think of him either.
It's the whole Amazon
Somebody
crew.
will tell us.
It's its own entity, the same way NHL on TNT is, the same way that ESPN is, and so the whole Amazon Prime crew was down there. This game is not on Sportsnet at all. So you have to watch
I'm glad
it
you
on
said that.
Amazon
I
Prime.
honestly didn't know that. I'm glad you're filling me in. And probably I would guess I'm not the only one that is glad to know this. I'll be there, obviously.
Yeah.
So
And I think we're going to see some angry people that are like, where the hell is the game? Well, this is a national game on Prime, digital broadcasting, a la us.
Right.
Same thing, right?
So you got to go into your Prime account.
Yes.
And I assume it'll be live or sports or something like that, and select it, and then you watch it off there. So They'll be showing commercials.
Yeah.
They'll throw to commercial breaks. All right. So, but this is interesting to me because would Rogers that operates Sportsnet, they couldn't have been thrilled about this.
Well, essentially, they've had 4 games. I think 4 Oilers games are on Prime this year. They've had 4 broadcasts taken away from them, unless it saves them some money and they're trying to count their money and save a little bit. But yeah, this has been taken away from them.
Okay. I just assumed it was going to be, as you said, how the NFL works, that it's on Amazon in the U.S., but then in Canada, TSN just shows it. They let TSN show it, whatever they want. Case. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so.
I assume
too.
Jack will be on radio then again.
Jack will be back on radio,
right.
Yes,
okay.
And telling people to sync it to the radio like he did last night. I found that interesting. I went to Gene. I'm like, would he get in trouble for that? Like, I should have asked him. I was talking to him this morning, but Jack, good self-promoter like a UFC fighter.
Right. That's funny.
You like that? At least a little tie-in. Portions of this hour are brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. Reed is in the Popeyes studio back at EST Global HQ. And of course, Popeyes has its boneless wings, which are a continuation of their bone-in wings platform that allows customers the choice between their ghost pepper bone-in wings or their all-white meat boneless wings with a milder flavor. With the success of their current wings platform, they're continuing to lean on their existing sauce offerings, including signature hot, honey garlic, honey barbecue, garlic parm, as well as classic. That's Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. As we get you set for tonight's action, Oilers and Devils. Tom Gazzola, Reed Wilkins with you here on the Oil Stream. Let's get to some text, Riedrich. I want to go to this one. Hampton Steve asked if it was Darren Millard. No, it was not Darren Millard. Darren's on the Vegas Golden Knights broadcast. Troll says Gazzola was fine in the last 2 games. I'd swap Perry and Ryan until McDavid gets back to let those 2 guys rest. The Flames broadcaster last night was good. Rudy and Troll was talking about Johnny Abbott.
John Abbott came from Ottawa, right?
Ottawa. Before that, he was in Vancouver, and before that, he was the Leafs radio guy. Johnny is my age, and good friends with John, and he's an excellent broadcaster. So thank you, Troll. for the shout out to Johnny, because he replaced Rick Ball, who went to Chicago, and John, very thorough, very thorough.
Did Weideman retire? Was that what happened in Chicago?
Yeah. Yeah, John Weideman retired. Or did Pat Foley retire and Weideman took over?
Well, maybe TV. That's what it was. Yeah.
I think Pat Foley retired. Like, those guys are legends in Chicago. They did broadcasts for the Hawks, I think, since the late 80s, early 90s. So Pat Foley and John Weideman.
So was Abbott doing Senators radio? Regional TV.
Yeah, and I know they've had like a weird rotation because sometimes Gord Miller does them, and Cece was in there for a bit as well, and before he went back to Sportsnet. So yeah. So Johnny Abbott, great job, and a great addition to the Sportsnet Calgary broadcast. All right, Reed, let's go to Bones here. Bones says, "Good afternoon, Reed and Tony. The record and play has improved. How do you feel about the defense now?" That's a good question, Bones. Thank you for that. Tony only covers UFC, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay, Reed. Yes. How do I feel about the defense? Well, look, guys, I thought the first 3 games were a disaster. Like, I thought almost everybody stunk on the whole team.
Yes.
To generalize, there might have been a couple good performances. Okay, so I'll just summarize this way: they're passing better. The breakouts are better. Okay. I would like to see Bouchard shoot more. I think Ekholm's last 5 or 6 games have been outstanding. I think Nurse has been pretty solid.
Agreed.
The last 5 or 6 games. I think Kulak has been like, he's a 2.5 pairing defenseman. You know, like, he's too good to be on your third pair, and maybe he's not always quite, but that's how he's being used.
Yeah.
I will say this, as much as I didn't like Dermott at the start, settled down, quieter. Stetcher will absolutely give you everything he has. But I still think both he and Dermott I wish they were like locked in as the 7th instead of one of them plays. And then I think Emberson has started to settle down. So I still recognize that there's some vulnerability to the defense, but the execution has increased the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah. Well said. Very eloquent answer to Bones' question. I respect that very much. I will second that, and I will say it's a patchwork D, especially on the right side right now, and it's holding up for the time being, which is good. Buying Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson time to go out there and start to work on a trade, which will likely come closer to the deadline. All right, let's go to this one. Actually, I saw this in the nasty chat. It was from It's Just Your Average Canadian. Said, Rogers sold Monday Night Hockey to Amazon. Nothing was taken. I'm glad.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would have assumed there would have been some sort of compensation if you're selling games away. They tend not to give those away, but I appreciate the clarification. Yeah, I totally missed that Sportsnet wasn't still going to air them.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. We're going to have to adjust. Library Pat says the Amazon deal is a Canadian thing, isn't it? A subcontract of the Rogers deal just for Mondays? No, it's its own beast, separate entity. Yeah, they're the new kid in town, if you will, on the national broadcast side. I think that's the more appropriate way to describe it.
Because I believe they were plugging this game on Thursday Night Football, weren't they?
That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense, both on Amazon, right? Amazon Prime. This one from JB says, just catching up and was at work, but the Bouchard bomb to Hyman's sensitive male area maybe should be called the Rosham Bouchard. a reference to the Rosham.
That's pretty good.
Well played, JB. Yeah. Okay, let's go to this one to wind things down here. It's from Coach Mike. Says, do you guys think the game last night will be the typical Oiler win this season? Will the Oilers have to grind out more games this season, or do you guys expect more pucks to go in eventually and we see more lopsided wins? That one's signed by Coach Mike. Riedrich, I hand it off to you first.
Well, I do think they'll score more. I still think they will have a couple lopsided wins, or more than a couple along the way. Let's face it, there are still some pretty lousy teams that they've yet to play, like San Jose. for example. I believe in one of my outrageous preseason predictions when I made them. I said they would score 10 goals twice this season, which they have not done since 1996 against Calgary. Right. Well, those are kind of my jokey ones, but it'd be fun to see it. But I will say this. I hope they have more wins like last night, because that's, to me, and I say this all the time, but that's what they need to be to some extent, is that figure-it-out type of team. Mm-hmm. You know, like, okay, it's not going to be, we can't win 6-2 today. Okay, we've played pretty well, or we've played decent, but it's 2-2 early in the third. What do we need to do to win? Well, yesterday it was get saves from your goalie and win a special teams battle, even though the rest of the night or the season hasn't gone your way on special teams. So I would expect more games like that, and that doesn't bother me. That doesn't make me think, oh, it's a weakness if they're not winning enough games by 4 or 5 goals. I think they got to be comfortable in games like last night. And quite frankly, I think over the last 3 or 4 years, they've become a team that generally is comfortable in those games.
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night too, especially in the third period, the way they were defending. It was odd seeing a 5-on-4 power play become a 5-on-5 with an empty net situation. And it was almost like as soon as Calgary pulled their goalie, the Oilers went into PK mode. And I didn't like that particularly, but they held the fort. Obviously, that scramble, Skinner was on top of his game last night. They get the job done. But I think them being comfortable in close games was something that was part of their characteristic last year. And I think if that carries on this year, that's a good sign, because you're not going to get those blowouts and those 10-goal games and outbursts like you predicted in your outrageous predictions. They
botched that power play, though, late in the game.
They did.
You should have just played keep away. Was it Draisaitl that tried a cute interior pass?
Yep. And they lost possession.
Can't try that. That's just keep away at that point. It's too bad they didn't have McDavid. He could just started skating laps around the ice.
Maybe soon, my friend. He was skating very well around the ice this morning. All right, Riedrich, this has been fun working with you. I know Dusty's healing up, getting better. Good to see him on the broadcast on the CFL game the other night. But what do you and Jay Milne have coming up on the Reed Wilkins Show this afternoon?
Well, more chatter on the Oilers, of course. We didn't dive a lot into Pud Colson on this show, so I want to do that. Excellent. On the Reed Wilkins Show. We have Lieutenant Eric scheduled as a guest.
I know him.
He was on TV on the weekend.
I saw that. Did you see it? Nasties? Did you see Eric in Regina celebrating a big Riders victory? It was like worlds colliding. Dusty on the call, Suits in the booth, and then Dusty's other broadcast brother in the stands, but on TSN.
Yeah, we got our mystery athlete of the game for Hudson's Canada's Pub. That's been fun to do that as well. All our other regular features. Yeah, we're 3 to 5:30 tonight, and then we're gonna hand it over to you.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to the pregame show. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show gets going 5:30 when Reed hands it off to me. We're gonna have Amanda Stein on, a Devils reporter. She'll give us the scoop on those Devils, and then Cass will have Game Changers, myself and the Latino Heat, Hernan Salas. Riedrich, great work. And rest up and enjoy a fine broadcast coming up in a couple of hours. Up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk, it is EST Afternoons with Hernan Salas and Joaquin Gage. For Reed, I'm Tom saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.